great many great Americans from many different walks of life and many different fields, and many will be Masons. Sportsmen, actors, writers, soldiers, filmmakers, businessmen, inventors, astronauts.
What on earth is an astronaut?
No, they're not.
I don't follow.
Well, they're not on Earth, they're in space. In fact, Brother Buzz Aldrin was the second man to walk upon the surface of the moon.
With the growth of atheism, society is also becoming more materialistic. We are taught that science is a method that should be followed to gain knowledge. But what if the people that communicate this materialistic worldview in secret practice esotericism, ritual magic, and even astrology? Interestingly, it appears that all of the space agencies, especially NASA in particular, are full of esoteric and occult symbolism. From the fact that all of the NASA missions are named after gods, Apollo, Mercury, Artemis, to events such as Devil Comet is about to make its closest approach of Earth, Cassini reveals strange shape of Saturn's moon, Pan. The APEP mission was named after the serpent deity from ancient Egyptian mythology. NASA's Lucy mission is seeking cosmic fossils that promises to expand our knowledge of planetary origins. The near-infrared instrument of the largest telescope in the world is now called Lucy, but it used to be called Lucifer, and it belongs in part to the Vatican. We also see a multitude of satanic symbols in their designs.
This is the sign of the horns, a curse sign, the two fingers extended.
Sexual references and multiple coincidences, like the speed of Earth around the Sun is 66,600 miles per hour. That the Earth is said to be tilted 23.4 degrees, which if subtracted from a 90-degree right angle, leaves 66.6 degrees. That the polar circles are located at latitude 66 degrees and 33 minutes. That the Earth curves 0.666 feet for every mile. And that the full name of NASA in gematria adds up to 666. It appears that Freemasonry has infiltrated all of the governments of the United States, from George Washington, the man who led the United States to independence, and many others since then, both Republican and Democrat. By the 1950s, the secret society had taken over all areas of the country. Then something happened that would change the cosmology of an entire society. In 1958, NASA was created, and by 1969, human beings were shown landing on the moon. Without a doubt, for ordinary people, their worldview that was based on esoteric knowledge and the intelligently designed nature of human beings became overshadowed by the worldview of outer space. Everything comes from nothing, that we are the result of chance, and that our nature is only material. But who is really behind NASA? Well, it's quite obvious that Freemasonry plays an important role in NASA's missions. In the Apollo 11 mission, even though they were right-handed, the two astronauts who were reported to set foot on the moon supposedly did so with their left foot first, which is in reference to the ritualistic steps that an entered apprentice uses when entering a Masonic temple. While there is no direct evidence of Neil Armstrong's involvement in Freemasonry, there is evidence of his father, who belonged to the Grand Lodge of Ohio, and after his death, the Grand Lodge of Free and Accepted Masons of Argentina issued a statement expressing its pain at the passing of brother Neil Armstrong to the eternal east. In addition, the letter also confirms the existence of statues of Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin in the Grand Lodge of Washington as being the two Masonic brothers who reached the moon. Buzz Aldrin was initiated in Oak Park Lodge in Alabama, and from there he continued his path as a Mason through various lodges such as Clear Lake in Texas. And supposedly, Aldrin also took a small flag of the Supreme Council of Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite to the moon, which is on display at the Museum Library at the Scottish Rite Temple in Washington, D.C. On this medal from the 10th anniversary of the moon landing, you can read, "Our flags on the moon," in reference to both flags. "When man reaches new worlds, Masonry will be there," says Buzz Aldrin. And apart from them, there's a long list of astronauts and members of NASA who belong to the fraternity. But obviously, none of them really went to the moon. It's more believable that it was all a show, as you only need to see the ship in detail to realize that it wouldn't be able to travel 400,000 kilometers an hour, nor would it be able to travel through Van Allen radiation belts and return as if nothing had happened.
Three, two, one, ignition. Right away, Houston. Vector grid. X5.
Not to mention the old magic telephone that was capable of making a call at that distance. Yet we're told that this very advanced technology was destroyed and cannot be rebuilt.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
But let's continue, because there's much more. Wernher von Braun was the German mechanical and aerospace engineer in charge of designing the Saturn V rocket, which supposedly took humans to the moon. Although there is no evidence that Wernher von Braun belonged to a lodge, his story is still thought-provoking, as he was in the SS, as well as the German army, under the guidance of the man with the mustache, who is well known for his relationship with the occult. Wernher von Braun was also a friend of Walt Disney, who belonged to the Order of Demolay, whose name refers to Jacques de Molay, the last Grand Master of the Order of Knights Templar. Curiously, Walt Disney had a private club in his amusement park called Club 33, and in his films we see multiple references to esotericism, starting with the logo, where we see 666 and the dome firmament, the magic mirror with the zodiac and the 7 dwarfs in reference to the 7 planets, Peter Pan, and many others. And Walt Disney also showed great interest in promoting the space show by creating several programs dedicated to it even before the creation of NASA.
With the Renaissance came a learned monk, Nicholas Copernicus. He proved mathematically that the Earth was not the center of the universe, but was merely one of many planets circling. Here at the space station, our journey begins. Man, in the years that follow, may discover the miracle of life as it exists in all its countless forms throughout an infinite creation.
Both NASA and Disney made the same sexual references in their audio-visual creations. And Wernher von Braun also liked to write science fiction books about space. In one of them, called Project Mars, he tells that the leader of Mars is called Alon. And he also proposed a first model of what we know today as the ISS, the International Space Station, a model which was divided into 33 parts, curiously. On his tomb, Wernher von Braun asked to put Psalm 19:1 from the Bible, which says, The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork, which tells us about the existence of a creator and a firmament, a very different worldview from the one he promoted in life. And finally, we have Jack Parsons, the aerospace engineer who invented the rocket fuel to send spaceships to the moon, who also had a double life as an occultist. He was interested in the work of the black magician Aleister Crowley, who was also nicknamed the Great Beast, and his religion called Thelema, and he joined one of the esoteric organizations led by Crowley, the Ordo Templi Orientis, better known as the Order of the Eastern Templars, becoming the head of the Agape Lodge in California. Supposedly, he prayed to the god Pan before the takeoff of each rocket, and he also performed rituals and sexual magic to conceive what Crowley called a Scarlet Woman, or Babylon, a being associated with the Antichrist, who, according to Thelema, would be a messianic figure for the New Age. This is important for the next section of the video. It is important to mention that this is only what has been made public and appears on Wikipedia. In the highest degrees of these lodges, authentic barbarities are committed to channel these entities.
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Everything starts to fit together when you understand what the NASA Blue Beam project is all about. Independent researcher Sergei Monast was the first to talk about the project and to show the following declassified United Nations document. It talks about the execution of a fake alien invasion, with the aim of implementing the New World Order. The document mentions that it would be implemented in 4 stages, which, in summary, describes how all archaeological knowledge must be demolished to make it seem that all of the religions were misinterpreted. A clear example of this is Zecharia Sitchin, who is also a Freemason that made his own interpretations of the Sumerian texts, adding a lot of space fantasy to the Anunnaki story. Let's continue looking at the grand plan. We already have a gigantic space show that's been running for decades. When they add holograms and laser projections, the idea is to make humanity believe in a fake alien invasion. The document ends like this. Then, after the night of the 1,000 stars, it is believed that humanity will be ready to receive a new Messiah, to re-establish peace everywhere, at any cost, even at the cost of losing our freedom. Using chaos to generate panic throughout the population so that they accept a new Messiah from outer space. Problem, reaction, solution. Sound familiar? And although this document may be a forgery, the reality is that we can see how it is being fulfilled perfectly, and multiple people have spoken about this plan. Warner von Braun's secretary, Carol Rossin, also warned us about this project.
I met the late Dr. Werner von Braun in early '74. At that time, von Braun was dying of cancer, but he assured me that he would live a few more years in order to tell me about the game that was being played, that game being the effort to weaponize space, to control the Earth from space and space itself. What was most interesting to me was a repetitive sentence that he said to me over and over again during the approximately 4 years that I had the opportunity of working with him, and that was the strategy that Werner von Braun taught me was that first the Russians are going to be considered to be the enemy. In fact, when I met him in '74, they were the enemy, he identified. And the next enemy was asteroids. Now at this point, he kind of chuckled the first time he said it. Asteroids, against asteroids, we're going to build space-based weapons. So it was funny then. And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens. And all of it, he said, is a lie. A lie. The very first meeting that I had with him in 1974, when he said to me, "You will be responsible for keeping weapons out of space. I'm dying of cancer and you have to take over for me." And when he explained to me the reasons for why weapons were going to be put into space, the enemies against whom we were going to build these weapons, and that all of that was a lie. And when he mentioned the extraterrestrial card, the extraterrestrials, aliens he called them, were going to be identified as the final enemy against whom we were going to build space-based weapons back in '74, the way he said it to me, there was no doubt in my mind that he knew something that he was too afraid to talk about.
And William Cooper, an independent researcher who said a few years before being murdered,
"But over the years, I've done a lot of research. What I've discovered is there's no proof existing anywhere that extraterrestrials are real, or that have ever visited this planet, or that they exist anywhere in the universe. There is not one shred of evidence anywhere. There is lots of evidence, tons of it in fact, that there are a group of people collectively known as the Illuminati who want us to believe in some extraterrestrial threat from space so that they can cause a world government, bringing together of all the people to resist that external threat."
The reality is that the NASA Blue Beam project already started a long time ago, indoctrinating you in school with the sphere and heliocentrism is fundamental to the Blue Beam. Making you believe that the dinosaurs were extinguished by an asteroid is also positive priming, and the continuous space and alien propaganda that we see in movies, series, and even the mainstream news also contributes towards Project Blue Beam. Curiously, Aleister Crowley was the first person to represent an extraterrestrial being, in a similar form to what we now associate as the Greys. He called him Lamb. And currently we have the New Age movement, where they tell us about a galactic federation of ascended masters who are going to save humanity and the ascension of the human being to the fifth dimension, led by beings such as Commander Ashtar, whose name is very similar to Astaroth, a demon mentioned in the Hebrew Bible, or the ascended master Senat Kumara, whose name is an anagram of Satan. It appears that some of these entities really do exist, as all of the ancient cultures reported on reptiles, angels, and demons. And in the same way, it is most probable that many of the UFO sightings are real, just that they are more likely to be some advanced military technology or higher dimensional beings that actually travel between metaphysical planes, not through the fantasy physical outer space illusion from the space agencies. The hidden plan behind all of this seems to be getting more clear, to move us away from the center, so that we lose our connection to our intelligently designed nature and accept a new era based on atheism, with the Antichrist as the new Messiah. So, if at any time you see lights falling from the sky, try not to be alarmed. Perhaps you can watch this video again and remember that everything is part of a theatre, ritual magic, like what Masons do. But instead of keeping it in their own temple, now they're bringing it into our realm.